People who have dial numbers written on bathroom stalls. What's your story? When I was younger, someone wrote for a good time call and my number on the playground slide. People would call a couple times a week, laugh and then hang up. It started to get annoying, so I went to the playground to cover it up. Someone saw me doing it and called the cops saying I was vandalizing the playground. I had to explain to the cop that I was just removing my number so people would stop calling me. I saw a number scratched on a table at a bar that said something like "Call Mike. He's been really mean." So I sent Mike a text telling him to be nicer, and in response he sent me back several angry "Who the heck is this?" texts over the next few days. He's really mean. I texted one a picture of a cucumber because that's what the note said. They sent me cabbage. In high school I messaged one that was on the backseat of a bus that was going through a town that was a 30 minutes drive from my town. I texted, "Who is this? Your number is on the backseat of this bus." They reply, "Greg." I told my classmate about it a week later since his name was also Greg. Sure enough, he holds out his phone with a text message from me in there. I was at the bus stop and saw this text. "If you are in deep crap, call this number." I called the number cause I had like 30 minutes to bus. It was local small taxi company. I told him to come and pick me up. He saved me like 25 minutes of waiting. The guy was cool, and I even gave him solid tip. I found a business card in a phone booth printed cryptically with, "If you don't call, you'll never know," and a phone number. Since I had time left on the phone card I called, and now I know. It was a pseudo-religious self-help cult trying to recruit people to seminars at their ranch in like New Mexico somewhere with promises of finding a new spiritual family. No thanks. The last thing I need is more family. I called a number for a good time, was greeted by a local pizza place. I proceeded to order 2 pizzas and at the end of the call discovered they didn't deliver to my area. It was a bad time. The stall lied. My cousin met her boyfriend since 3 years by calling a number of a bathroom wall. It said something like, "For a good time call 07xxxxxxxxx." She texted out of curiosity. Apparently one of his friends had put his name and number down there just to mess with him. He usually had guys sending him D-pics and crap and was considering changing number. They texted back and forth for over 6 months until they met up. They now live together and seem happy. If they ever ends up getting married and have kids, they will have quite a story to tell about how they met. I was playing Jenga at a local bar with some friends. All the blocks had people's numbers on it, so we made a rule that you had to text any number you pulled out. The first person I texted sent me a picture of a pile of coffee beans labeled "Find the Kanye." There was a tiny Kanye face on a bean in the bottom left corner. I went outside after watching a movie at the theater and someone had written their number in the snow that had collected on the back of my car. I texted it and it was just a random guy who went to my school. Never met him, but he saw the decal from my university and his buddies had dared him to leave his number there. Not in a bathroom stall, but someone had once written one of my male friend's number on a classroom bench. A girl called him. They talked and began dating. Eventually, a guy who had a crush on her beat my friend up, and that is how my friend lost his first girlfriend. I once added someone on Snapchat who had spray painted their name on top of a mountain I was hiking, and they replied to my message with a "Who the frick is this?" like I was the butthole. I dialed a number from my college bathroom stalls that said "Free BJ." I thought it was going to be the police department or something asinine, but I wanted to do it anyway because you never know, and it was a number for vector marketing. Found a number written on some of those giant wooden Jenga blocks at a bar once. I start dialing, and my friend I was playing against was looking at me like, "Dude, WTF?" It goes to voicemail, so I start talking about how lonely I am and how I was just hoping that I could have a good time in the most embarrassing voice ever. At this point my friend is completely confused until I finish with, "Look me up on Facebook. My name is friend's name. That is friend's name." I was at a restaurant and they had the "Give $1 to charity and put your name on this piece of paper we post on our wall." While waiting in the lobby for a friend, I saw one that had a name and a phone number with "Call me" under it. I figured what the heck, why not? Girl answers and I ask if it's XXXXXX. She says yes. I explain I'm in the lobby of the restaurant and her name is on the wall with her phone number. She doesn't believe me despite my best efforts to convince her I don't know who she is. Eventually she asks me to walk out of the front door of the restaurant, which I obliged, and she says holy crap. Meanwhile I'm standing in a parking lot looking around trying to figure out who the heck is looking at me. She asked me to take the paper down and thank me. Apparently one of her co-workers told her that he did it and she didn't believe him. They worked in the area and frequented the restaurant. Me and a few mates wrote one of our friends' numbers in the portal he dropped toilets at Glastonbury Festival about 6 years ago. Every summer around festival season, he'll receive a good few calls from people asking if the guy wanting kinky bum frick is still available and if so where does he want to meet. His girlfriend hates us almost as much as he does. When my friend and I were about 11 there was a public bathroom in the park where we had soccer practice and outside that public bathroom was a payphone and on that payphone was scrawled a number and above it the word SX. I don't recall ever paying for a call so maybe it was a 1-800 number. I don't remember. It was a recording of a woman's voice. I remember only the beginning, but I can hear it crystal clear. You wanna have fun? Yeah, and then a bunch of feminine giggling. We would hang up when the recording asked for a credit card number to continue the call. I think we were terrified our parents' credit cards would somehow get charged and we would get caught. Kid logic. We were both straight females, but we still called that thing all the time. It was seriously the most risque thing I had ever done up to that point. And also probably for a long time afterwards, sadly. I asked for Jenny and instead got a very irate cussing out from a woman with a southern drawl. Okay, so it isn't a bathroom stall, but a hilarious story. Back a long time ago, Paris Hilton had her mobile sidekick hacked and all her contacts numbers leaked online. I was contracting some 15-16-year-old kid to do a website for me at the time. About 4-5 hours before the list went public this guy building my site hits me up on AIM yeah, that old, and is like my buddy just did some crazy hack. He got all these celebs numbers. Bulls I said, because at the time this was unheard of. He sends me a text file of about 150 names. The first one that stuck out to me that I knew who they were was Fred Durst. Rang him up, froze and then said, yes, is this Mr. Durst? Yeah. Who is this? I truthfully explained the exact scenario and my morbid skepticism led me to dial him up. He said something about him going to have to turn his phone off now and actually thanked me for giving him a heads up. After that I waited a few hours and picked a number at random. Someone I didn't recognize or know. Wrong idea. She picked up the phone and said my number was now logged into her phone and the FBI were on the case whatever and she hoped I died. At that moment I knew the list went public. I logged into some merch chats and it was story after story of interactions. I don't like his music, but Fred Durst seemed like a cool cat and I like to think I gave him a heads up before crap hit the fan. Overall, teenagers do dumb crap. Got a dial tone. Turned out to be Domino's. Decided, why not? I ordered pizza and went home from the bus station. Kinda unrelated, but I took a picture of my snap code, basically like a QR code for Snapchat accounts, using one of the display phones at Best Buy. I now have a random woman following me. I went to a gig and everyone who frequented this venue would write on the wall while queuing, so me being drunk already decided I would ring one cause it said something amusing. Guy answers and I tell him where I am and that I was bored, so I rang this number off the wall. We had a convo about who he saw and who I was seeing that night, and due to me being drunk I sang a song by the band he went to see down the phone to him. Funniest Q bonding moment so far. Never dialed one myself, but I answered a call one day from an unrecognized number. He was in a bathroom stall at Arby's. That read for a long philosophical conversation followed closely by rough frick call and my phone number. Now I didn't write it, but I guess word gets around. Wasn't a caller but the recipient of many calls. When I was a teenager, some friends of mine were competing in a school competition against hundreds of schools from across the country. This is an event that happens yearly and attracts a lot of national attention. My friends, being the smart asses they are, printed my name and number and with the typical call for hot frick line, or something to that effect. Over the course of the day I must have gotten upwards of 50 phone calls and text messages. Teenagers think they are hilarious. To top it off, my phone number made it to the 6 PM national news. Towards the end of the event, one random student was being interviewed, so smart ass friend decided to write my name, number and call me on a A4 sheet of paper and stood in shot during the interview. I was once really high with a friend and called the number spray painted on the side of a dumpster with the name Yolanda. We wanted to let her know that someone spray painted her name and number on a dumpster at our local shopping center. A lady answered with a heavy Spanish accent who proceeded to yell at the both of us because it was her dumpster. "What the frick is the matter with you? That's my freaking dumpster." The rest was in Spanish in what I assume was an endless stream of expletives. That was the first and last time I called a number like that. I didn't even know people could own dumpsters. Jeez. Never, but I was in this English pub in Tokyo and the walls were pretty typical of an English pub. West Ham Forever, Ceres and so on. Then one said, "Is anyone interested in joining our baseball team?" Every Sunday at 11 AM with his phone number. He must have thought it was an actual message board. Bless. There was a flyer posted on a bulletin board at this coffee shop asking for your best Wookiee impersonation. The flyer told you to call and leave a message if they didn't pick up, and the best one would win $25. I figured it was too good to be true, so I called the guy and let him know what it said and where it was. He was wondering why he had gotten so many weird voicemails but appreciated the heads up. I texted the number while I was drunk. Usually, sober, I wouldn't. The same day, the woman called the police and reported me for harassment, even though I only texted her saying hi and telling her that her number was on a bathroom wall. Dialed up a number scratched on a horse feed shed storage door out in Loudoun County, Virginia, and Robert Duvall answered. He cautioned me to not use it again, lest I could deliver him 255 lbg of horse and mule feed. School bathroom with a phone number in sharp. Written above it said "sucks dong for free." I started typing it into text but I realized it was my own phone number. High school kids are brutal. 17 years old, was at the park with some of my friends and this bench was covered in numbers. So we took our time trying to get through all of the numbers. The majority of them went to voicemail and led us nowhere, but the last number we called said "call for a great meal." We were like, "Yeah boys, one of us is gonna get some," so we proceeded to call up the number, only to find that my mate's phone rang, who was a straight A catering student at the time. Was really surprised the note was truthful. Not quite a bathroom stall, but my family was out hiking and we found a number carved into the wooden guardrail. My sister called it and pretended to be a forest agent. Probably not the right name for them. She told the girl that the state was pressing charges against her for destruction of public property. The girl started crying. My sister started laughing, and she hung up the phone. I knew a guy that called a number written on a $5 bill. He figured she must be a quality girl because it was a 5 and not a single. She had a great voice on the phone, so they made a date. He played guitar in a popular local band, and there was a hip restaurant next to the club they were playing, so they arranged to meet before the gig. He figured they'd have dinner and then he'd impress the crap out of her with his playing. He was a truly fine guitarist, so he walked into the restaurant and looked for a girl in a pink dress. There was one, and she was enormous, so he slipped out before she saw him. So during the show, he sees the crowd part as the girl in the pink dress makes her way to the front, where she glares at him during the entire set. Afterwards, she screamed at him for standing her up. He felt a little guilty, but he said he'd felt worse if he'd had dinner with her and then dropped her. After all this, his warning was to not call numbers you see on currency. I used to call the numbers and inform the recipient of where there were not such nice things written with their name and number. They'd always ask what it said. I'd always reply that I wasn't sure they wanted to know, but they would insist. I would tell them verbatim in my radio announcer voice and listen to the shock emanate from the cell phone. They'd always ask me to mark it out, but I would tell them that I didn't have a pen or Sharpie. Found my sister's number once and couldn't stop laughing. Answered a call from a girl who said she found my phone number on a piece of drywall as she was tearing down wallpaper labeled "Good Pat." My name is in fact Pat, and I have no idea who lived in that house before she did. I wasn't friends with anyone in that part of town, nor what I did to differentiate myself from any potential bad Pats. We ended up going out to dinner and hung out a few times after that. Nothing ever really came of it, but kind of weird. There was a guy in my group of friends that annoyed the crap out of me. I made a free yard work by the mentally challenged sign and hung them up in Costco bathrooms numerous times for about 5 summers in a row. He would always complain of these stupid people calling him thinking he was a retard who liked to do yard work for free. Never did tell him it was me. I saw the number read Hunger Games hotline, so I took a picture of it in case I ever wanted to call it. A year later I'm on a school field trip coming back from DC when I tell my friend we should call this one number. He says yes. We dial it and we hear robots freaking. Wasn't a bathroom stall, but just a couple weeks ago I met a girl from her writing her number in Roman numerals on a school desk. Just 2 days ago we ended up going out together. Obligatory not me, but one of my best friends in college. It was our freshman year and somebody had written a number in the girls' bathroom in our dorm. Half drunk, we pressured her to text the number and to our surprise she got a reply. It was another student. They actually ended up talking for quite some time and met up like a month later. They've been dating for 5 years now. I started getting calls from unknown people asking about baby cows and how much were they. A couple of weeks later my classmate confessed he posted an ad selling baby cows in newspaper with my number. When I was in 7th grade, pubescent and virginal, my sister, 9th grade, informed me my name and number were written on the stall in the girls' locker room. Turns out, not only was I hot, I was good in bed, available for a good time and wild frick. This was music to my ears, and raging hormones. I really wanted to do the frick with another human being. My friends did as well, but they were unfortunate unrepresented suckers. I just sat back and waited for the calls to come in. I didn't stray far from the house. Even though I had trained my ear to distinguish our ringer, I could hear the phone from 3 states over. No one called interested in sampling my sexual prowess. The summer between 11th–12th grade I was at an all-night diner with some friends of mine, dining with my sister and her friends. Cause college chicks. One of her friends came out of the bathroom talking about some graffiti, and I remembered. I mentioned to my sister that I waited for the phone to ring 4 weeks and it was a karate chop to my ego. She then informed me she changed the 3s to 8s, while laughing with her friends at me. Hot and good in bed me. I saw a message carved into a door saying PLS I need help before 12/04/2014 inches because it was the 10th. I took it as my duty to help this person out. It was a guy about 20 years of age asking me what kind of present he should buy for his girlfriend's birthday, which was on the 13th. I told him to go with chocolate and roses. Received a message on the 13th saying it worked, dude. Thank you very much. That was the last time I heard from him. Said for best BJ. Person that answered said that meant best blinging jewels. Well played, K Jewelers. You have been visited by the Hamster of Joy. Comment I like chicken to live a happy and full of joy like the joy hamster life. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.